This morning I got really mad. I put on YouTube and I saw something come up immediately that had been up for about 10 seconds, and I watched it. It was infuriating, and it was a video by Dissidence. And I'm kind of at my wit's end with all these people. If you learn nothing else from this channel, the thing that you should know here, if you're either foreign to the United States or if you're an American, is that there's basically no left in the United States. It doesn't exist. Like, there's some leftists out there, and we could discuss problems with the real left, because God knows there's some battles there. But that's like, of people who are politically active, I don't know what percentage it is, but it's probably like 1%. Everyone else that is supposed to be the left are just basically Democrats. They're Democrats and they're boomers and they fight amongst themselves. Some reasons legitimately, some not so legitimately. And there's no left. And so there's just a ton of people online and in real life who think they're leftists, and they're not. They don't understand the basics of theory. They don't understand the paradigm. They don't understand the sensibility. Like, for example, internationalism over nationalism. Community over individualism. Right? Human beings, but at the same time, human rights through respecting the community or the social contract or something like that. A dislike or distrust of hierarchy. There's a battle there on the left as to how to implement that, yes. But theoretically, even the Marxist-Leninists are supposed to be for abolishing the state. They just want to have this interim stage of government. So there are all these sensibilities that take place, okay? And that inform one's views. And part of that means community over individualism, and it means respecting the rights of the traditionally downtrodden, the worker, the racial minority. The fact that I may distrust religion doesn't mean I'm for racial, or I should say, if I mistrust religion, that doesn't mean I'm for discriminating on the basis of religion. Because I believe in freedom of conscience, and I wouldn't want to see people being abused just because they're part of a religious sect that I don't agree with, right? So there's a sense of, you could look at it as respecting the underdog, respecting the oppressed, wanting people to succeed on a community basis, overturning the previous social order. A big part of that social order is what? Who's at the top? Boring, old, boomer, white, heterosexual guys. That's what it is. And when you start to get into something different, it could be a Muslim, it could be a trans man, they're discriminated against. And inclusive language is a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, yeah, I know there's problems with political correctness. I'm aware of that. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with treating people with respect and actually having language that shows that they exist. If there is a person who has a uterus but wants to be called a man, you have to have language that expresses that, right? And the reason I'm prefacing this is because these videos that they put out, that Dissidence is putting out, they're really stupid. They're stupid. And if you're stupid, if you're going to be dumb, you should stay in the Democratic Party. That's one of my major points, because the first thing that these people did when they exited, the first thing they did is they tried recreating the Democratic Party, an opaque party where we couldn't tell what was going on inside. We couldn't tell how they were choosing the rules internally as to how they were going to choose nominees or voting within the party. Who knows? Then they had some guy who was either a rapist or a sex pest, depending on who you ask, run the party. Him and his personal cadre of people ran everything. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a campaign that didn't work. And At the end of the day, these are not workers. These are not people who are minimum wage workers or who work for a living, who don't have graduate degrees. That's who should be in a party. That's who should be running your party, right? And so when I see that, I see basically them recreating the Democrats. Instead of it being 2.0, it's more like Democrats 0.5. Like they're going backwards. That's how stupid they are. That's the first thing they did. Then the thing they did after that is they went into full-on vaccine denialism. You know, and then they claim, like Jamie Dore claimed, well, I'm not anti-vaccine. I mean, what planet are you living on that you could be watching Jamie Dore's videos and not become vaccine hesitant? That's just a plain disingenuous position. You're just not being honest. Of course, you watch Jimmy Dore, you watch all those videos, you're not going to get a vaccine. That's just how it is. And so when you have positions that are dishonest, I know where you're coming from. You're not coming from a dishonest position. You're not coming from an honest position, which is why that party failed and why Jamie Dore is failing. It's a failed job. They should all just go back to the Democratic Party. So today I saw two dissidents put out a video, and in the video they're interviewing this guy, and this guy is telling them things that they want to hear about how inclusive language is wrong. He's telling them what they want to hear about how children are supposedly being taken away from their parents and being forced to transition to another gender, and how these children are being mutilated, and he is creating an air of suspicion around trans people, right? So soon you're going to hear the trans agenda and all that crap, and that's what's coming out of these videos. And I'm really, really mad. I wish I could have done this video earlier, because what I really wanted to do was just yell. Just yell. Because people will suffer because of videos like this. This is not something that you say in a vacuum. People are going to suffer because they watch videos like this, and then they go out of their way to vote for bigots and transphobes, or they organize for bigots and transphobes, or they form alliances with bigots and transphobes. That's what's going to happen as a result of this. It's been happening from Jimmy Dore. It's been happening from dissidents. And this is just an example of how they think of themselves as being leftist and enabling children who need to seek medical assistance, which, by the way, this is about a multidisciplinary approach. This isn't you go and see the surgeon and you pay him money and then the surgeon performs surgery on you or mutilates you in their language. That's not what this is about. This is a multiple disciplinary thing that requires things to be implemented. You need to have a doctor examine you. You need to have therapy. There is a determination when you take hormone blockers as to how long you should take them to see up until when that you should be taken off the blockers so that you can experience puberty. It's a temporary thing, and it's a private decision between the person or even a minor and their physician. Minors have rights. I know that's going to blow the mind off of some people, that you could have a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old who might be actually be seeking assistance from a licensed therapist and a medical doctor. But that's the world that we live in. You know why? Because we have evolved past the point that children are their parents' property. I know, radical, but that's what I'm talking about. These people are so full of crap, it makes me furious that they call themselves leftists when they are vaccine denialists, when they deny trans rights, and when they have this guy, this showpiece, this token showpiece, who's trans, in an attempt to cover themselves. Oh, well, we have this token person here, right? Like, I could say racist stuff and then have Thomas Sowell on, or have Justice Thomas on. I could say anti-trans stuff and have Caitlyn Jenner on. Caitlyn Jenner might agree with me. Should we be anti-trans when Caitlyn Jenner criticizes the trans community? Does that make any sense? These people should not use the word. They should not use the word leftist. They don't understand what it is. And if you're an American and you think you're a leftist, and you're listening to me, chances are you're not a fucking leftist. Because it is almost impossible to be a leftist in this country. Especially if you're a boomer and you're old and stupid. I'm serious. You should not be in the business of using that terminology. Now, you can accuse me of no true Scotsman fallacy. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Because it means something. The term means something, and we ought to have litmus tests in politics so that we can call what it is. Call it what it is. I'm just really, really mad that they do this. The first thing they did is they tried to start a corrupt party for the benefit of Nick Brana. Then they tried to get people to not be healthy and not get medical attention because vaccines were for profit. And they tried making the extremely illogical argument that all vaccines are supposed to be magic, right? So now they're saying that since medical treatment, this is one of their points, since surgeons and psychiatrists and medical professionals work for, are making money off this, well, that must be bad, right? Which makes about as much sense as saying that if let's say the state of Minnesota, they passed a bill recently, and they passed a bill to feed children in public schools. Well, that costs money, and the state of Minnesota doesn't have communes. They don't grow their own food. They buy the food. It costs US dollars. That means that's somebody else's profit. It could be agribusiness, could be the dairy industry. People are going to make money off of feeding kids. Should we stop feeding the kids? So it chafes me endlessly that not only do they incorrectly call themselves a leftist, they also use extremely bad, completely illogical arguments. They're extremely stupid, and they purport to know what's going on, and they can criticize people. They often do criticize people that I think deserve to be criticized. But that doesn't buy them anything in my book. You think because they criticize Anna Kasparian that they can then indirectly defend her in the next video and I won't notice, which is what they were doing. They were defending Anna Kasparian's transphobic remarks. Someone explain to me, because I really don't know. Somebody explain to me, how is it that you could be a woman in the United States, let's say, whatever, a cis woman, whatever term you want to use, the majority, and feel that the existence of the term, person with a uterus, for example, or birthing person or something, that somehow negates you. That if you're Norman Finkelstein and you're teaching a class and the administrator says to you, you have to refer to one of your students as they, he would say that's denigrating him. That it somehow demeans him to refer to a person as they. Like, on what planet are these things demeaning Anna Kasparian or demeaning Norman Finkelstein? If I have to use the term they to describe someone, that doesn't demean me. If I have to acknowledge the existence of, non-sperm creating males, that doesn't do anything to me. It does nothing. So, am I missing something here? Because this is just, like the meme. Am I on crazy pills? Because this is just really stupid. If this is what the left is thinking about, these are supposed leftists, and they're worried about women being demeaned by acknowledging that there are women out there. I should say that there are men out there who might get pregnant just as much as there are men who can't father a child. That's somehow a problem. What you're really saying is, I just want to refer to people the way that a Republican would. And I just want to use talking points that a Republican would. I don't really care about being pro-choice or pro-trans or anything. I only care about Medicare for all and some regulations on the side, and then I get to call myself a leftist. And I'm sorry, homie, don't play that. I just don't play that game. So I got a major problem because these people do Dissidence and Jimmy Dore, Johnny Graz on Twitter These people are dicks. They're dicks. Just because you got angry at some rich liberals and because you don't agree with one person, one entity, one country's foreign policy, doesn't make you a leftist. Because that's what's going on here. You don't like American imperialism and you don't like rich liberals. Well, then you must be a leftist. No, I'm sorry. That's not how it works. Anyway, that's my thought on it. I'm embarrassed that they use that term to describe themselves. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm going to respond negatively to anyone that comments on this to defend them. I'm just being honest. I don't think they deserve to be in the same universe with true leftists. I think they're being a leftist is an actual thing that has like standards. And I am just tired. I'm tired of these people. If you're sitting around saying, no, I'm a leftist, and by the way, please sign my non-disclosure agreement. Yeah, I can't say politely what you should do with yourself and that stupid agreement.